What's going through your head as you're galloping along with this beast between your legs? And no, you're thinking about your connection to the horse. You're thinking about their next move. You're thinking about what obstructions might be in front of you. You're in the moment. You're locked in the moment. You're not thinking about what's happening overseas. You're not thinking about what's happening in your business. You are tied and connected to that animal, hyper focused on what's exactly in front of you. And that is how we are meant to experience this life. Focused on the current moment, not focused on what will be, not focused on what was. It's so key.
There are healers on this planet with the power to soften the suffering of mankind, yet they have remained in the recesses of the world, abused, discarded, and labeled as trash. This is The Touch of a Mustang. I am your host, Shalise Clough, and I'm here to tell the story of wild horses, Mustangs, and the humans who are discovering and sharing their gifts while working to protect their well-being and preserve their spirit, so this divine power won't be lost. Join us on this quest with the Wild Mustang.
You know, it's interesting how this whole thing unfolds for us, and this life experience that we have, and how we're guided or forced into what our career is going to look like, and what knowledge we have to share with the world. For me, it was a deep understanding into the power of sound and vibration and its impact on our physiology and our nervous system. And it came through experience. It came through me being stressed and anxious, me being exhausted, me being overwhelmed and overworked and spread thin, and all the things that I think so many of us feel in this beautiful society that we have co-created, where there is more to do in a day than we could possibly ever think about getting it done for most of us. And the feelings that come along with that. And 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I was introduced to sound therapy. 14 years ago, 2012, I was introduced to sound music and the acoustic instruments that deliver a very similar experience to what we do with vibroacoustic therapy, but a more muted, a lower intensity, if you will, in comparison to vibroacoustic therapy. Vibroacoustic therapy is a much more intense experience, and we'll talk about that. And with the higher intensity, you unlock physiological benefits that I've only learned about for the last 10 years that I've been doing this. But the first 4 years, I was going from event to event, seeking out sound therapy, sound baths, and these acoustic instruments, and not understanding fully on a intellectual level what was happening, but understanding on an energetic level and a personal experience and an anecdotal level what I was feeling. And that's where it all started for me. It started by laying down in front of these beautiful acoustic instruments, the bells, the chimes, the didgeridoo. Now handpans are big, right? So all of these frequency therapy and music instruments that are designed to deliver frequency and sound to the body. And through that entire experience, I was then introduced to my now business partner, Dominic, and vibroacoustic therapy, vibration acoustic sound. So vibroacoustic therapy is a body of research that goes back 55 years to the mid 1970s, and it's focused on frequency and its impact on our physiology. So I'm now a certified vibroacoustic therapy practitioner, which is a mouthful. And it just means that I've been studying the science behind frequency and its impact on our physiology for the better part of the last 10 years, and teaching people about the power of sound and vibration. I think from a anecdotal state, we all know that music is medicine. Whatever music moves you is medicine for you, whether it's hardcore, rock and roll, heavy metal, hip hop, house music, reggae. It doesn't matter. Whatever music moves you is medicine for you. And it brings us to this state of being, sometimes an existential state, sometimes a calm and relaxed state. But music moves us and it has an impact on us. And that's been the study that I've had for the better part of the last 10 years, is understanding sound and frequency and its impact on our physiology and digging into the science which dovetails into the science of consciousness and how we connect with one another as humans and beings on this planet. Because it's not just humans, it's horses, it's dogs, it's cats, it's animals, it's wild animals and domesticated animals. It's how we are interconnected and how we perceive the world around us through our five senses, and then ultimately through our nervous system. And the reaction that our nervous system has to the world around us, that sympathetic nervous system response. And I just became enamored with understanding what we can do to influence that nervous system response, to re-regulate our nervous system, to be calm and relaxed more often through the power of sound and vibration. And it's to your point, it has become my legacy. It has become a knowledge base that I am able to learn, interpret, and then pass on to others. And one of the best ways to do that is through long form podcasts and these types of conversations. So I'm honored to be here and grateful for the time and the energy to share with your audience and with anybody who's listening.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here. What was the thing that led you in so deep into this dive of sound does something for me? Sounds like you started from a place where, not great, probably experience that a lot of us have either had or are having, where we're just overwhelmed, stressed out, can't really see an escape or find a release. What was the thing that made you head towards sound?
So it was ultimately an experience. So think of sound and vibration and vibroacoustic therapy, as well as the traditional sound baths. Think of them as a pressure release valve, right? So to your point, life gets the best of us. We get spun out and triggered for all sorts of different things. And we can talk about stress. We can talk about anxiety in a moment. Sound and vibration is that pressure release valve. So it's to limit the explosion. It's to limit the overwhelm. It's to calm and relax the nervous system so that you can be better geared to handle what life is presenting to you on a regular basis, good, bad, or indifferent. We all know when we're in a relaxed state, we can handle what the world gives us. Even when it throws us a curveball, if you're calm and relaxed, you can just handle it. No problem. The decision making is there. You just figure out what you need to do in order to get through that situation, and you're good. You move on to the next. By contrast, when you're spun out, when you're stressed, when you're anxious, when you feel like you've been getting kicked in the proverbial nuts over and over and over again, and life is just kicking you while you're down.
Yeah.
You don't feel as though you have the energy, the wherewithal, the decision-making capability, or the capacity to handle it. And sound and frequency actually has the ability to reset the nervous system. That means moving from sympathetic, stressed and anxious, to parasympathetic, calm and relaxed, from survival mode to maintenance mode. And when you're in maintenance mode, you can handle what the world throws at you. And when you're in that stressed and anxious mode, it just feels like it's so overwhelming, and you're just getting kicked while you're down. And for me, it happened at a festival, Lightning in a Bottle, which is actually getting ready to kick off. And I have friends that are heading out there right now, actually. And this was, again, 14 years ago, which is just wild to even think about. It was 2012. And we were on our way to Lightning in a Bottle, and we had gotten our camp set up, and I didn't have anything to do. And one of the gals in my RV, after we set up camp, put on all white, grabbed her drum, and was running off to run the sound baths at Lightning in a Bottle. And she said, "Craig, what are you doing now?" And I looked around. I didn't have anything to do. Our camp was set up, which is kind of a stressful, egress into an event is always a little stressful. You're driving a big RV. You don't really know where you're going to camp. You find your place to camp. You set everything up. Then you kind of relax a little bit. And she said, "Why don't you come with me? I'm going to run the sound bath. I'm an angel at the sound bath this weekend." And I said, "Okay." So I ran off with her. I didn't really know too much about it. I laid down. 6 or 7 people played these incredible instruments for 45 minutes or an hour over my body. I fell asleep. I woke up feeling like $1 million. I woke up feeling like my body had been wrung out, and that I was just in this blissful, focused, relaxed state where I could take on the world. And I got hooked. I then, every event, festival, conference, trade show, retreat, yoga retreat, whatever it was that I was speaking at or attending, I would literally unpack my bags. And if there was a sound bath, I would go. And for years, it was not knowing what was happening, not understanding the science behind it, just knowing that I loved that experience and I felt fantastic. And it really reset myself and realigned myself to that place. I always had a hard time meditating. I always had a hard time turning off the monkey mind and quieting the mind. Sound and frequency was a perfect way for me to do that, to distract my mind, to say goodbye to the distracted mind and say hello to a relaxed existence, which has become kind of our tagline here at inHarmony. But sound and frequency is really powerful in doing that. And since then, I was then introduced to vibroacoustic therapy. Back in 2016, I had my first sound lounge experience, which is our technology. And I was hooked to that ever since.
So tell us a little bit about the role of vibration and then also the science that you have dug into since beginning to understand the power of sound.
Yeah, I
little more
appreciate that.
fully.
So look, vibration is everything. Quite literally, this entire matrix in life, this entire consciousness experience that we have is all built around vibration, sound, light, frequency, and vibration. As you look to the smallest quantum understanding that we have of physics and this world around us, everything is vibrating. Think back to 7th grade science and chemistry, protons, neutrons, and electrons that are spinning around the elements and the elemental table, right? Periodic table of elements. It's all at a quantum level and at an atomic level. It's all spinning and moving. Even this table, this microphone, which looks very physical, my body, it looks like a very physical thing. However, at a quantum level, it's all moving. Even your skin, protons, neutrons, and electrons that are spinning around each other and connecting and bonding with one another and all that. So vibration is everything. Even though things appear solid, they are actually vibrating and moving at some level. And just thinking about that, I mean, it's a deep conversation to be had. But when you start to think about even on a molecular level that everything is moving and vibrating, vibration becomes everything. And the better that we can harness the power of vibration and use it to our advantage, like we do through vibroacoustic therapy, the more powerful of an existence we can have, the calmer existence we can have. And sound and vibration, scientifically proven over the last 55 years to reset the nervous system. What does that mean? It basically means that you have this nervous system. So, Shalise, you perceive the world around you through your 5 senses. Sight, you're making fabulous eye contact with the camera right now, which is fabulous eye contact with me. 30% of your hearing is actually through your eyes. Your eyes direct your ears and your brain on what to focus on. And right now you're focused on Craig, telling your brain, listen to what Craig is saying, even though you're in a quiet room. We perceive the world around us through our 5 senses: touch, taste, smell, hearing, right? And sight. And those basically get translated into electrical signals in the brain. And then the brain, in the magnificence that it is, in real time creates this mind's eye picture of what's happening around us that we then perceive as real life. And the body only has one response to stress. The nervous system only has one response to stress. And stress is not a bad thing. I'm not one of those, we need to relieve ourselves of total stress. Can't do it. Don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Stress
No.
is actually a good thing. It makes us
Right,
stronger. And it allows us the ability to grow. And I've got a ton of stories associated with that in my own real world experience. But your nervous system only has one response to stress and anxiety. And frankly, your nervous system is constantly looking for threats to your body. I think it's probably safe to say that you're in a safe environment. You know, aside from somebody coming down, I don't know what's going on the other side of that door, but it seems very peaceful, very tranquil, and very safe, right? No threats. There's nobody with a machete running around or a gun.
No.
Right? We all live, and myself included.
Yeah.
Here I sit in Las Vegas. Outside, it's going to be 85, 90 degrees outside, but in my home, it's a beautiful 72 degrees with air conditioning and a security system marking my perimeter and a dog outside that's protecting my household. There aren't really a lot of threats, but yet my nervous system is constantly looking for those threats. And of course, what do you find when you're looking for something? Exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, you find it.
So we have a nervous system that has one response to a threat, which is the sympathetic nervous system response, which is biochemically an increase in cortisol, an increase in adrenaline. You get shortness of breath, and you're in that sympathetic nervous system response. And whether that threat is physical, emotional, mental, relational, nutritional, financial, whatever that threat looks like, or whatever that perceived threat is, because again, your brain will find something it's looking for if it has to, and it will find those threats. It triggers that sympathetic nervous system response. And in doing so, your body goes into that sympathetic nervous system response. We're supposed to be in that sympathetic nervous system response for a short period of time. We're supposed to spend most of our time in a parasympathetic nervous system response, otherwise known as rest and digest or maintenance mode. And yet, too many of us are spending way too much time in that fight or flight, in that survival mode, that sympathetic nervous system response. And sound and vibration is a passive and external way for us to sit down and have an intentional experience that will trigger the chemical cascade associated with being in that parasympathetic nervous system response. So it is an external stimuli that, instead of stressing us and putting us into that sympathetic, works the opposite, and it puts us into that parasympathetic or that rest and digest. So you notice that you're spun out. You notice that you're overwhelmed. You notice that you're stressed and anxious. And you say, you know what? I'm going to lay down on, this is our zero gravity recliner. There's tactile transducers inside there, and we can talk about how our technology works. But you basically pull up your phone, you pull up the inHarmony Music Meditations app, you push play on a music meditation, and you are whisked away into this beautiful, relaxing experience. And about 15 minutes into our experience, I call it relaxation from the outside in. The vibrations themselves send a message to every muscle in your body telling it to relax. The brain then recognizes that your muscles are relaxed, and it says, okay, I guess it's time to relax. It follows the pattern and follows in suit. It then kicks in the chemical cascades associated with that parasympathetic nervous system response, and your body relaxes behind it. So sound and vibration guides the body into a relaxed state, and you stay there until external stimuli bring you back into that sympathetic nervous system response. But like an athlete conditions their body, you are conditioning your nervous system through vibroacoustic therapy, through sound therapy, to stay in that sympathetic nervous system or parasympathetic nervous system response for longer periods of time, therefore handling what the world provides to you and as far as an experience, and keeping you in that, reconditioning your nervous system to spend more time in that maintenance mode. And when your body is in maintenance mode, that's when it takes care of itself the way that it's supposed to take care of itself. So think of these two different nervous system responses, and I'll wrap up with this. Parasympathetic is maintenance mode. Sympathetic is survival mode. And when your body is in survival mode, it has a different set of priorities than when it's in maintenance mode. Survival mode, it turns off the maintenance mode line items and to-dos, and it focuses on keeping the vessel alive. But most of us aren't in a life-threatening environment when we're triggering that sympathetic nervous system response. It's just not life-threatening now. There are absolutely life-threatening situations that we come into, and perceived life-threatening situations that we come into as well. You get fired from your job, that's a life-threatening scenario. That's how you put food on the table. It's how you put the roof over your head. It's how you get water and take care of yourself. So while you might get severance, you might have another door open right after one door closes, right? All these positive spins that we can put on something so detrimental as losing your job, it might not be as life-threatening as it actually seems at the outset. And doing a sound lounge session after you're fired can allow you the opportunity to calm and relax the nervous system, to go from that sympathetic, stressed and anxious to that parasympathetic, calm and relaxed, so that you have better brain capacity, better mental capacity to handle and make decisions around what you're doing. When you're in that survival mode, your brain potentially turns off its ability to think logically. Your brain uses most of your 20% of your energy every single day is used by your brain for cognitive thinking and rational thinking, which is turned off when you go into that sympathetic nervous system response. It turns off parts of your immune system. It turns off parts of your digestion. It turns off parts of your reproductive organs. So many people are walking around in that sympathetic nervous system response every single day, and they're doing things or trying to do things where they need their parasympathetic nervous system response to be the dominant player in their nervous system response. Think about it. So many people have digestive issues. Well, if you're in a stressed state, your nervous system is turning off parts of digestion. It doesn't matter how clean, how organic, how high quality your supplements are. They're going right in and right out because your brain has turned off digestion. So many folks are trying to get pregnant right now and having trouble, miscarriages at an all-time high, issues with getting pregnant at an all-time high. If you're in a stressed state, your nervous system and your brain is literally turning off your reproductive organs because you don't need your reproductive organs if you're in a survival state. You need to survive first. And then when you're in maintenance mode, all that turns back on. So I've discovered through understanding the science and research, to get back to your question, that there are so many different aspects to chronic disease, dis-ease, that are really revolve around being in that parasympathetic nervous system or not being in that rest and digest, that maintenance mode. And once you rest and get the body into that relaxed state, all of a sudden, all of those chronic ailments and issues that you're dealing with that are further exacerbated or even created by being stressed go away. And that's what we're seeing in our science and research. 6 out of the top 10 reasons why people die from all-cause mortality here in America are further exacerbated, if not created, just from being in that sympathetic nervous system response. You remove the stress and anxiety, you get back into that parasympathetic nervous system response, those reasons for all-cause mortality go away. So that's why I've made it my life mission to help people relax, to understand what's happening with the nervous system and what happens when you're in that stress state versus in maintenance mode. And I've made it my life mission to help people get into that parasympathetic nervous system response as quickly and as often as needed.
All right. So
long answer.
How does this? Yeah, no, that's great. It's a lot of good information. And I think, stuff we don't necessarily think about when we're frazzled and stressed and trying to take care of whatever's on our agenda for the day.
Right. Which is constantly evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Talk to us about how this works practically, or maybe even how you have seen it in your life. Say you're super stressed about, and maybe say it's something beyond your control. So you changing the state of your mind is not necessarily going to change this situation. How is that going to change?
I'll give you a great example, and it's timely. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and on May 4th, I got a phone call from the administrators at Apogee, where she goes to school. And I never get phone calls from them in the middle of the day. And I knew something was up. She broke her arm in breakdancing class.
Poor
dislocated fracture of both bones in the lower wrist. When I got there, her wrist was a Z.
Oh man.
And it came up for me in 2 ways. First of all, they said, should we call 911? I said, no. It's a 20-minute drive. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Right? Like, we know how fast parents jump to that. And, and I knew, the ambulance wasn't going to be able to set it. They're just going to take her to the hospital. So I was like, no, I'll come there. My parents live with me. They came with me. Right? It was the Goldbergs were on the scene. And I showed up, and my daughter, who has been on our technology every week, just about, since she's 1 week old. When I got there, my daughter was sitting on a bench, calming herself down, talking to herself, saying, I'm getting choked up. Everything's going to be okay. This is fine. My dad's on his way. He's going to take care of me. We're going to get this taken care of. All is well. She was literally using her own self-talk, which is part of our practice, both on the technology and away from the technology, to actively maintain her nervous system response to the situation, to hold off shock, to hold off that rush of adrenaline. And obviously she was going into that sympathetic nervous system response, and for good reason. Now, for me, how does that show up? I need to be there for my daughter. I need to be the rock and the grounding rod that keeps her calm and methodically moves through and uses my own mental capacity. I can't go into that sympathetic nervous system response. I need to breathe. I was listening to my music meditations on the drive down. I was using all of my tools to regulate my nervous system and keep me in that parasympathetic nervous system response so that I had my full mental capacity and I could handle the situation and be there for my daughter. Now, fast forward, we go to the ER, we get it set. I get back to my house, we get dinner. I get my daughter in bed comfortably with a splint, make the appointment for her to go to Children's Bone and Spine on Monday, get her cast and get the, x-rays that she needed after the x-rays she got at the ER. And what do I do afterwards? I get on the sound lounge so that I can have my own adrenaline dump, so that I can have my own nervous system regulation, because I now no longer need to be strong for those around me. And I could have the emotional experience that I need to have, which is a part of the human experience. We can compartmentalize and we can put off that emotional response for a long while, but we need to give it to ourselves to release that energy that we're compartmentalizing and keeping bottled up. And I did it right here on this zero gravity. And I said to my parents, cool, Harmony's in bed. It's time for me to have my sound lounge session. And then my parents did sound lounge sessions that night as well. So using these tools to have the emotional experiences that we're meant to have and we need to have is really important. So it works to both regulate the nervous system ahead of these situations and keep me cool, calm, and collected during that situation. And of course, as an acute treatment afterwards, so that I can go through the emotional experience that I needed to have and that emotional release that I needed to have, so that I could be a better human that night, the next day. And, a child with a broken arm, she's uncomfortable. She woke up a bunch of times over the course of the night. There's one other way that I think is relative that I use our technology for as well. So by getting on the sound lounge, and again, digging into the science a little bit, we are moving the brain in and out of different brainwave states. We are giving the brain the ability to spend time in different brainwave states. Beta, eyes open, processing the world around, and down into alpha, theta, and delta, up into gamma. And the brain needs to spend time every single 24-hour period, every day, in these different brainwave states. And we get them during sleep. We also get them during meditation, and we also get them during a sound lounge or a sound therapy session as well. You're basically guiding the brain into and out of these different brainwave states where it can do the things it needs to do to take care of itself. And different things happen in each brainwave state that are important over the course of the day for us to rejuvenate, regenerate, and restore our best version of ourselves, or our perceived best version of ourselves. So the story goes basically 22 minutes on our technology is equivalent to about 4 hours of sleep. And sleep and meditation is nothing more than a conscious perception of a slower brainwave state. And to elaborate on that, your brain doesn't sleep. You perceive yourself as sleeping when you lay down to go to bed. And the human experience that you have is, I lay down, I close my eyes, I fall asleep. I wake up 8 hours later and I have just slept, but your brain didn't sleep. Your brain was doing all these things to clean out amyloid plaque and to organize your desk and to get your thoughts in order and to log memories and cellular rejuvenation. And all these different things are happening as you're detoxing your body and you're cleaning yourself out, preparing yourself for your next woken state, whatever that looks like. So the Sound Lounge is a tool that I use on a regular basis. I'll give you one more real life example. For the last 7 years, inHarmony has run the wellness experience in the Artist Lounge at EDC. And EDC is Electric Daisy Carnival. It's 3 nights in a row, 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. It is exhausting. I'm going off 5 hours of sleep Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday into Monday. And then I get caught up on sleep. And one of the tools that I use during the event, me and my entire team, is regular sound lounge sessions. As we get exhausted, as we get beat up, as we need a break. We're not just walking into the back to take a break. One of the most powerful tools that you can use for your employees, for your teams. Corporate wellness is a big avenue for inHarmony. And at EDC, it's a fantastic tool that we use to rejuvenate, regenerate, and to recuperate from working all night long, working that graveyard shift, which so many Americans do because they have to, either as a primary hustle or a side hustle. So it's a really powerful tool to help recuperate and rejuvenate, and to take the body in and out of those different brainwave states that it needs to be in for sleep.
Nice. A couple questions. First one, totally unrelated. How did your daughter hurt her arm that badly breakdancing?
So my daughter probably does 50 to 100 cartwheels a day. And she was at school. She wasn't wearing slippy socks and, her foot slipped. So she went in to do a cartwheel and her foot slipped out. It put extra weight. This is her story. Nobody saw it happen. This was just her story of what happened. And she's like, Dad, I know exactly what I did. And I messed up. My feet slipped and it put too much weight on my arm. She probably does 50 to 100 cartwheels a day. Remarkable. Yeah. I asked her, did anybody else touch you? Did anybody push you? Did anything else happen? She goes, no, Dad, it was just me doing a cartwheel and I slipped.
Yeah. Dang.
Okay.
Just happens sometimes.
Yeah. And you know what? She learned a lesson and she pushed her body to a limit. She found a limit. It's funny. My dad, my daughter said to me, she goes, Dad, I wish this sucks. I wish I never broke my arm. I wish it never happened. Have you ever broken an arm? Have you ever broken a bone? And I said, you know what, Harmony? I've never broken an arm. And she goes, I wish I never broke my arm. You're so lucky that you've never broken a bone. And I said, you know what? Maybe I haven't pushed my body far enough to learn my own limits. Maybe I'm capable of so much. That's hard. I said, maybe I'm capable of way more. And I just haven't pushed my body far enough to find out exactly what I'm capable of, like you have. You found a limit. And now you know what you can do and what you're capable of, and you've pushed your body as far as you can in that particular way. And maybe I haven't pushed my body far enough to figure that out yet. You're going to heal. You're going to be back better than ever, doing cartwheels, jumping, dancing, doing all the things. Ironic that it was breakdancing class. I said, Harmony, I think you took the words of the name of that class quite literally instead of figuratively. But,
right.
Look, it happens.
Yeah. Well, hopefully she's healing well and like you say, lessons to be learned all the time.
She is. We actually just had our 2-week x-ray yesterday, and the doc came and looked at the x-ray, and he looked at me and he said, this is exactly what I'd like to see healing. Perfect. Good. I mean, it looks absolutely perfect. And this is exactly what I want to see in my own granddaughter if she had, gone through the same thing. So 3 weeks, she gets cast off and she'll be swimming and jumping around like always.
Yeah. Back to cartwheels. Maybe not so many. Only with appropriate socks.
Yeah, lessons are learned. And look, when she was 2, she fractured her wrist, and also through a simple fall. She got a cast, and the way she fractured her wrist, she was actually climbing on my back. It was this first quintessential moment that we had as a daddy-daughter, and we were on this. I have a 9-foot by 6-foot yoga mat in my workout room, and I was laying on the ground. I was doing push-ups, and Harmony crawled up on my back. And I pushed up into all 4, and she was kind of like riding on my back. And I said, Harmony, grab onto my shirt, and and then she put her arms around my neck, and I started walking around just a little bit, being cognizant that I was staying on top of the mat. My wife was there, and she was taking pictures, and we were having this kind of beautiful little experience where Harmony was riding on my back for the first time, and I felt her slip off. And I looked to my right, and I watched her fall off my back, not only 1.5 feet onto the pad. And she immediately grabbed her wrist and started, crying. And, I don't know if you have kids, but, they cry for a couple seconds, and then they calm themselves down and the pain passes, and we got an ice pack, and, we did all the things we're supposed to do. And 3-4 minutes later, she was still crying. My wife looked at me and she goes, this feels different. And I go, yeah, this feels different. Yeah. So we called our medical team, and we got x-rays, and sure enough, she fractured her wrist, and we went to Children's Bone and Spine, and we got her a cast. And after that whole thing passed and she was casted up, I was kind of horrified, thinking about and ruminating on what will be, and hoping and praying that my daughter wasn't going to never, want to do that again. Like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
never going to climb on my dad again. That was horrible. And I mean, literally like within the next week, still had the cast on. She was like crawling back up on my back and holding on tighter, making sure she was holding on differently, making sure I was not making the same movements that I made. But like
Yeah.
before the cast was even off, she was back on my back. And now she loves wrestling and roughhousing and tickling and throw me on the couch, daddy. And you know, like it never happened. And sure enough, when she broke her arm doing a cartwheel, she had totally forgotten that she had done this before. And when we walked into the office and she saw the fish tank, believe it or not, she looked at me and she said, Daddy, I've been here before. And I said, yeah, I know. This is the same office you came to when you broke your wrist when you were 2. She's now 6. It was 4 years ago. It was like lifetimes ago. So these kids, they are resilient. And I think that's the beauty of the human experience, right? How many people break an arm or a leg skiing or snowboarding, and then next season they're right back at it after they're healed, and they can't wait to get back out there so that they can be a little more careful and do it again. You get thrown off a horse and you get kicked while you're down, and you're right back on there knowing that, you know what, that was an accident. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I made a wrong move. I understand why it happened, and I'm going to be more cognizant of that. And I learned a great lesson in it. So, yeah.
Well, great to hear that she's doing well. Everything's healing. And yeah, that is not a fun experience to go through, but one that we've definitely had some broken arms at our house also. So it definitely happens.
It happens, you know? And look, luckily we have, this is going to be a funny statement coming from me, but luckily we have an amazing medical team. And I say we here in America and around the world. Look, this is the situation where doctors are phenomenal. Acute accidents and issues, I think we handle that very well. I have other things to say about our medical system when it comes to chronic disease and ailments. I think they miss the mark a lot, and we want to change that here at inHarmony through our science and research and what we're doing actively with the FDA, and getting this modality approved through science and research, which is a big part of what we do here at inHarmony. Right now, we're the only FDA registered class 1 medical device for vibroacoustic therapy as of the recording of this podcast. My intention is to be FDA approved in the future. In order to do that, I need clinical trials, peer reviewed, and we're moving towards that very quickly and very effectively. So we're going through a process right now to make that happen. So it's going to take a couple years probably for us to get that peer reviewed, published clinical trials, placebo-controlled, clinical trials done. But it is happening, and it is a big part of what we're doing here at inHarmony, not just for us, but for our entire industry.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, because I agree with you 100%. We're really great at acute care, and yet on the other side of that spectrum, people are killing themselves a lot of times with their lifestyle and with the choices that they're making.
Look, 740,000 people commit suicide per year.
Yeah, mental health is a huge one.
740,000 people. It's a suicide every 40 seconds.
Yeah.
It's horrific. We're missing it on the mental health. We're missing it on the chronic ailment front big time. And sound and vibration can help dramatically.
So let's talk about some of those things. We know sound vibration's really good. Even as you were talking about your daughter, you kind of mentioned how she was using that self-talk to calm herself down. What are some of those other things that we need that work in correspondence with the ideas of integrating good things that are helpful? I definitely have a belief in the power of the sound. There's a time in my life where I was so anxious. The only way I could sleep is like putting on the sound vibrations on YouTube, that would just allow you to go into sleep and let go of some of that anxiety. So I definitely see a place for that and have used it in my life. What are we missing? Why are we so sick despite having so many advances? Why are we staying in that state of constant stress when, like you kind of mentioned, stress is good. We need it. It serves a purpose in some instances.
So look, I'll point you towards, first I'll point you towards our YouTube channel, inHarmony Interactive. You can search us on YouTube and you'll find 11-hour extended music meditation specific for sleep and bringing your home into balance. I play it through Sonos, not through my technology, although you can run our technology all day. and plenty of people do. But we do have extended music meditations. I recommend a YouTube subscription so you don't have commercials, and that you can download them and listen to them offline. But for your intention of sleep, that's exactly what we created extended music meditations for, so that you can harness the power of sound and vibration all day without interruption and without worrying about a playlist and pushing play on an app. Look, our medical system gets it wrong when it comes to chronic ailments and chronic dis-ease. And that's because, and this is so much more widespread now than it was 15 years ago or 14 years ago. And we started on this. And that's because they're treating symptoms, not cause. And obviously there's a lot of different medical belief systems out there, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, that focus on the inputs and the cause rather than the outputs and the symptoms. But I think that's one of the things that our medical system, particularly here in the United States, gets wrong. They're treating symptoms instead of getting to the root cause. And sound and vibration gets to the root cause. It gets to the human experience. It gets to how the nervous system and how the body is functioning. It has an impact on circulation. It has an impact on lymphatic drainage. It has an impact on the detox pathways in the body. It has an impact on your fat deposits and toxic load and toxicity in the body and how we're able to release that toxic load. Again, there are just so many different aspects to our overall health and wellness that sound and vibration helps. In addition to just the mental, spiritual, and emotional experience, human experience that we're having, but also the physical body that I think is so important. And we're documenting this with science and research. We have a scientific advisory board. I don't have my sign here, but we currently have the largest vibroacoustic therapy study done to date. As of 2 weeks ago, it had 87 participants. Me and my scientific advisory board, we've been working with them for 2 years so far. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be with us for a long time. And we're on kind of 2 years into this 4-year process. So when our scientific advisory board first came online and came on board, the first thing they did was they reviewed our website and all of our external documents to make sure that we're not in violation or saying anything that could be misconstrued as a violation of anything that a 3-letter agency wouldn't want us to say until we could substantiate that claim through science and research. That was a 48-page document that they gave us. From there, we then went to the literature, because vibroacoustic therapy as a body of research has been around since the mid-1970s. So 55 years of science and research. We reviewed all of that science and research. And now, we didn't have AI then, which is wild, but to say, but now obviously we have AI. We reviewed just about 1,400 studies, just under 1,400 studies, 1,367, I think, or 1,372, something like that. And we reviewed those studies for efficacy. What are the parameters that they were testing? What are they looking for? What was the testing group versus, right? And we validated that science and research. After reviewing the almost 1,400 studies, we validated 37.
Wow.
We then wrote up a white paper talking about how we validated 37 out of 1,400 studies, and we printed that. So it's going to be released. We submitted it probably 6 or 8 months ago. It takes anywhere from a year, 6 months to a year and a half, 2 years for these medical studies to get published. But it's already peer reviewed. It's already approved. We're just waiting for it to get published, and it will be a peer reviewed study. I'm an author along with my scientific advisory board and third party testing that we've done to validate what we've done, and that's getting published. So our first paper gets published. The largest study that we reviewed and validated had 65 participants. So we have our own study, which is a pre and post survey, which is using scientifically validated questions and questionnaires. And anybody who uses our technology and our music meditations can actually do this pre and post. You literally just scan a QR code with your phone. You fill out a 10-question answer. You get a well-being score. You do your session. And then afterwards, you fill out another one. You outline which music meditation and which experience you did. And then you answer the same 10 questions. 100% of the time in that data, which all comes back to our scientific advisory board and then gets statistically analyzed, 100% of the time, the well-being score has gone up. And then we then present case studies and review that data set as it comes in. And we just did another review at 86 participants 2 weeks ago. We also had a science and research day here at my home. So we brought in about $40,000 worth of equipment, $20,000 HRV system that, again, scientifically validated, calibrated, and used for scientific research. And then we brought in a blood flow measurement for the prefrontal cortex. So part of that movement from that sympathetic nervous system response to parasympathetic nervous system response, part of that movement is when you go into sympathetic, your nervous system decreases blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. It's where logic and our decision making happens. By reducing blood flow to that part of the brain, it deactivates that part of the brain. You literally go into this hyper-focused mode where you're not really making decisions. You're hyper-focused on solving the problem at hand in that sympathetic nervous system response. So by testing blood flow before and after a session, when we see blood flow come back in to the prefrontal cortex, we know that parasympathetic is now coming back into the predominant nervous system response. So another $20,000 machine with a headband. So we did before and after. We had 30 people come through when my scientific advisory board was here, and we did pre and post. We posted about it on our Instagram stories and our Instagram page. And then we statistically analyzed that data set through pre and post surveys, plus pre and post HRV and prefrontal cortex blood flow. And we got 11 case studies out of that with remarkable results. So all of this is a precursor guiding us to the science and research that will ultimately be our clinical study here in Q4 of 2026. Big into the science and the research. It's one thing to anecdotally know what I know from hosting tens of thousands of sessions over the last 10 years. And of course, my own sessions, not just putting people on and off the technology, but my own sessions. It's one thing to know and feel what this technology does. It's another thing to document it through peer-reviewed, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trials, which we're moving towards. And we're the only company that I know of that's doing it.
That's amazing. And I agree. In order to bring it more mainstream, you are going to have that scientific backing. I think that's an issue that we face in equine therapy. A lot of people can say, yeah. A lot of people can say, I know it works, but until you can show why it's working, it's pretty hard to promote it in the medical arena.
Before we jump to the next topic, let me just close this out with that. There are so many different applications for this technology. And look, over the last 10 years, we've been selling, manufacturing this technology, maintaining our app, music meditations, and those experiences. About 50% of our clients are individuals that want to bring this into their home for their family, for the benefit of their children or their own mental health, their own mental well-being. And about 50% of our clients are businesses, massage therapy, wellness centers, med spas, chiropractic, recovery and addiction, athletes and athletics. I have a call with a major MLB team tomorrow to bring vibroacoustic therapy into their locker room. We have Olympians that are using our technology, yoga, meditation, corporate wellness. Huge companies are bringing vibroacoustic therapy in as an employee maintenance and give back for employee health. There's so many different applications for this technology. The biggest is the hospital networks. The biggest is the triage centers and the places where we go. And they can't adopt our technology until the science and research is there and three-letter agencies have signed off on and given them the insurance codes, the CBT codes, right? The CPT codes. So there's this formula and this process that we are in the middle of. And when we're able to bring this to light, when we're able to get the approvals, the peer-reviewed, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trials, that's when this thing really cracks open, because you have hospitals and small offices all over the world that are already using our technology in a positive light. But really, when this thing starts to unfold and really erupt is when we're on the other side of this FDA approval, not just FDA registration, and testing, and we're moving through it. And again, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars to self-fund this type of research. So I know nobody else is doing it, and nobody else is talking about it. That's for sure. And it's a big part of what inHarmony wants to do to bring this technology and this knowledge to the world. And we're dedicated and committed to it.
Do you see this as something that people will it work in acute situations? Someone goes in with a panic
100%.
attack, they can lay down
100%.
and it will
Absolutely.
calm them down.
Absolutely. 100%. And there are different protocols for different acute instances. I
Right.
mean, at one point we were making military grade products for first responders. I mean, could you imagine if the back seat of a fire truck was a vibroacoustic mat so that you could have folks that are in shock or EMTs? The bed of an EMT, ambulance is a vibroacoustic bed. And that EMT is trained in the power of sound and vibration to help calm and relax and take the shock out of somebody, to help them triage
Mm.
faster and heal faster. Um, this has all happened already. This is not anything that I'm making up, but it's a huge opportunity for us to bring this to the medical world. First responders, veterans, PTSD, treatment-resistant depression, anxiety. I mean, there's so many different applications for this technology in the medical world. It's kind of ridiculous. It's a huge opportunity, but it's also a very expensive endeavor. So
Yeah.
we had to build the company first and get revenue that would allow us to then push it back into the science and research side of what we're doing. There are grants that we can get, but that's long. It's just longer timelines. We want to get this done as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And you kind of mentioned a little bit just the rates of suicide in the country today. Is that something you also see as it being a solution to help? And how would it help with that from what you've seen?
Look, this world can be incredibly overwhelming, and I
Yeah.
can only imagine how hard life would have to get for you to decide to take your own life. Um, my wife's best friend took her own life 2 years ago. Um,
Sorry.
the amount of strife that put through her children, my godchildren, and our friends and family for the 2 years leading up to that, to be there for her, to help her, to support her, and then to decide this is the best way out for me, or the best path forward for me. It's horrifying. And obviously I had access to my technology at the time, and she was resistant to it. I could lead a horse to water. I can't make him drink, just to bring it back to
Yeah.
equine therapy. And this was a perfect example of, once you have so many mental health issues and so much of a psychotic break, there does come a point in time where it's not advised to use sound and vibration. If you're in a current
Yeah.
psychotic break, I don't want you going further within, because insides are broken. And that's where you need talk therapy. You might even need, in some cases, if there is a chemical imbalance, you might need pharmaceutical. You might need some other type of intervention, equine therapy. Sometimes you just need to go on a retreat. It's funny. I turned 47 on Tuesday. And when I was a kid, my parents live in my house. Like, when I was a kid, never did my parents say, we're going on a retreat in, Machu Picchu, or we're going on a yoga retreat to Mexico. We went on vacation to Mexico, but just do an all-inclusive
Yeah.
resort, party, and have a good time. There was no such thing as a retreat center in Costa Rica. That just didn't exist. Maybe it did, but it wasn't as well known. Maybe that was a California thing that people
Yeah.
in Hollywood did, right? But now
Yeah.
it's
Certainly not as
something that's
well known.
no. And look, it's a very real part of the human experience today, where we are so overwhelmed. Look,
Yeah.
look no further than your own television screen for stress and anxiety on tap. Looking
Yeah.
at the
Our
news
social
feed,
media.
looking at
Yeah.
social media feeds, looking at um, Wolf Blitzer's voice, for God's sake, drives me up a wall. The guy is always screaming on CNN. His voice is always screaming. His temperament is
Yeah.
always fast paced. It's by design. It triggers your nervous system, and you get
Yeah.
addicted to that. And too many people are addicted to watching these endless news cycles that don't matter at all to their own human experience. I know we make it seem as though it matters, but what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz doesn't matter to me here in the States. It really doesn't. Let the politicians, let the people that are paid to deal with that. Love them or hate them. It's not a left or right conversation. It's just focus on what's happening in your community, in your neighborhood, in your business. And if you have a business that focuses on that, great. Be aware of it. But all that's outside of your control. Stay away from those endless news cycles. They're literally designed, sound, frequency, and light, to stimulate your nervous system and to get you hooked. And it absolutely is, to your question, leading back to people wanting to pull the plug, people wanting to take the easy way out. I'm just going to turn all this off because I don't have any solutions. And sound and vibration, meditation, mindfulness, spending time with family, getting out into the outdoors, grounding, sunlight, good sleep. These are all solutions. And yet so many of us are dealing with a nervous system that is so dysregulated that we can't do any of the things that we need to do in order to live that healthy, perfect existence in that parasympathetic nervous system response. And sound and vibration is a powerful tool to do that passively and on command. All you have to do is lay down, put on the headphones, push play, close your eyes, and 22 minutes later, you're going to be that much closer to a re-regulated nervous system. Now, it might take multiple sessions. When I first got my sound lounge 10 years ago, I was on it 3 times a day, 7 days a week. You cannot overdo it. I needed it that much. Now I'm probably doing 4 or 5 sessions a week total. So I went from 21 sessions a week to 4 or 5 sessions a week. And it's just maintenance. And of course, I'm listening to frequencies all day long and I'm involved in this all day long. But it's a really important aspect that you can use as a tool to passively reset your nervous system and get into that calm and relaxed state. And once you're there, it gets easier to stay there. So it's this very easy lever that we can pull to get into that calm and relaxed state and stay there.
Yeah. And I think that you really hit the point on the head when you said that, especially when we're talking about people ending their lives, they don't have an answer anymore. They've come to this place where they don't know how to get to a different place, and it's so difficult where they are. And going back to what you said, if we can bring those things in that can bring us down and open our awareness, which is kind of what it sounds like you talked about, moving from the sympathetic into the parasympathetic and being able to think again, to think clearly, to use our reasoning and our judgment better instead of being in this panic mode. That's certainly something I think horses also do, is to be able to help people step out of the panic mode and to see different perspectives and insights.
Mm-hmm.
What are some, say you don't have the money to have a at-home sound lab, what are some of the things that you found and that people can do to maintain that, even if they're not able to necessarily afford a really cool sounding, I mean, it sounds great. But if they can't afford that, if they're not able to take your specific items into their life for whatever reason or for right now, what are some other things that they can do to still take advantage of the practice of using sound and vibration?
So it's a great question. And I fully get that not everybody has the wherewithal. We really do strive to keep our prices as low as possible, but
Yeah.
there's costs to bringing this technology to the world. And we have economies of scale. We brought 10 containers of product into the United States last year. And even with economies of scale, there's still a price, a minimum price that we have to charge in order to sustain the business and cover those costs. So I get
sure,
that.
Yeah.
We do have payment plans. We do have financing options. As of the recording of this video, I'm probably a day or 2 away from opening up even more financing options because a lot of pay over time options are being used regularly. So reach out to our office. My phone number, by the way, literally this phone rings is at the top of my website. It says question, schedule a call, or call our co-founder now. And that's literally my phone number and my extension that rings this number. So if anybody listening has any questions, call me and I want to help. The longer answer is the first thing you can do is go to our YouTube channel and listen to our extended music meditations. Do it through your device that you're listening to this podcast on now. You can do it through your phone. Use headphones if you have access to them. The headphones that come with your phone are great. If you have bigger, more capable headphones, a lot of people invest in Bose. A lot of people invest in Apple. Whatever it is, Beats by Dre. the higher the quality of the headphones, the better. Or play those extended music meditations through your car stereo or your home stereo system, preferably not while you're driving, although I do listen to them while I'm driving, but that's a more experienced professional approach, and a pro level unlock. Anywhere that you can expose yourself to these frequencies is a great place to start, and it's totally free. If you graduate from there and you say, you know what, Craig, I want something on demand, you can go into the App Store and search inHarmony, one word, and find our Music Meditations app. It comes with a free 14-day full feature trial before you subscribe. It's only $8 a month. It's a great way to support what we're doing here in inHarmony. $8 a month goes towards new music meditations. We record about a new music meditation every week and release it. So we're constantly adding new music. It goes towards maintenance and it goes towards new features. We're constantly evolving the app as well. 7 music meditations in our app as of right now. There's about 20 or so extended music meditations for free on our YouTube channel. You can search inHarmony on Spotify and you can find us there, although it's also a very limited library. By design, the biggest library is in our music meditations app. Each one of these tiles is a different experience of a different duration. 57 or 58. Our new releases are absolutely incredible. That's the easiest way to do it. After that, hop on our website, iaminharmony.com. 2 most important words in the English language, I am, because anything you put after it, you are. So why not be in harmony with the world around you? It's how we got to our company name. iaminharmony.com. If you're on your computer, up in the black menu at the top, it says demo, and you can find a location near you of an amazing human being that wants to sell sessions, and you can actually pay for an individual session. If you mention you found them on our website, they're going to give you a free session just to try the technology. So that's another great way to get access to the technology. If you're on your phone and you're on iaminharmony.com, you're going to want to look in the hamburger menu, which is the 3 dots in the top left corner of our app, and you just touch on that. I'm really bad at this, but you scroll all the way down to the bottom and it says inHarmony locator, and that will take you to that same place where you can actually put in your zip code and find somebody near you. I feel very blessed. 900 affiliates and partners around the world. Most major cities here in the United States are covered. And again, if you say, hey, I was listening to a podcast, I want to try the technology, they're all instructed to give you a free 11-minute session. So it's another great way to try our technology. You can ask any of our affiliates and partners for a discount code. They have our deepest discount that we offer is always through our affiliates. And if you do choose to make the investment, we do have payment plans. And our meditation cushion is $7.99. Again, striving to keep our prices as low as possible and always coming out with innovative and new products as well.
Nice. Tell us just one more thing I wanted to touch on. You had mentioned that you had some stories about stress. Let's talk a little bit about stress, the impact it has, stories you have, how to overcome it, how to use it appropriately.
Look, stress is a good thing. I'll give you a great story because it's the one that we're carrying on, and I've got a half a dozen of them. But I'll give you a great example. So my daughter breaks her arm on May 4th. It's May 22nd as we're recording this. Sorry, I hope I'm not giving anything away. I hope this, by the way, this is one of the best conversations I've ever had. I hope this gets produced and released very, very quickly because I want to slice and dice this conversation and put this out to our people as well. May 4th, my daughter breaks her arm. We go through the ER, the setting process. She gets a little bit of medicine to put her under to do that, right? So she comes out, she's a little foggy. We're sitting on the couch with the whole family and she's, laying in pillows and being taken care of and being served, and aunts and uncles are around and grandparents.
All the good parts about breaking your arm.
It was awesome. I was basically like, Harmony, you can pretty much ask for whatever you want. Like,
yeah,
she probably asked for ice cream 10 times that day. And I'm pretty sure she was served ice cream every single time.
She learned. She's learning all kinds of lessons.
Look, take advantage, right? I mean, bright girl. It was just awesome. We were sitting on the couch. And by the way, she also got to watch television and screen time, which she doesn't often get. It happened to have been a weekend. It was Friday anyway, which she's allowed to watch screen time on the weekends. All she wanted to watch was gymnastics, by the way. She watches these gymnastics shows on YouTube, like ironic, but that's all she wanted to do. is
It
watch
didn't
girls in
traumatize her
belts.
too badly.
It was wild. I mean, I didn't think it was therapeutic, but that's what she wanted to watch, and you get whatever you want. So she did it. But in between shows and ice cream, we're sitting on the couch talking, and my daughter was different. My daughter was different. She was upgraded. She was more articulate with her words. She had an increased vocabulary. She was wrapping her mind around concepts and thoughts that she couldn't do the night before. And to a point where one of my best friends and her chosen uncle, looked at me and like she went back to watching television. He looked at me and he goes, "What did she just say? Like, is she an upgraded human?" And obviously I'm co-authoring a book with Lynn on consciousness, and it's all part of this conversation. But like, she was a different person, upgraded, with better mental agility and this deeper vocabulary and this better vernacular. And the only thing that I can put that towards is the stress of the experience that she just went through allowed her brain to grow and get upgraded. And she still is, by the way, to this day. Now past, she's not on any medication or any medicine, nothing for the pain. She's just a regular normal girl again. And she is so much more articulate. Since that moment, we noticed a significant difference. It was just really absolutely remarkable. Look, there's tons of examples that I can use every day of how stress helps us build. You go to the gym and you're working out your muscle, you're breaking down your muscle, and it builds back stronger. Do you remember the Biodome? Remember the Biodomes they had out in Tucson, Arizona?
Yeah.
They're on like Biodome 4 now. It's still an ongoing scientific research study. Biodome 2 failed. Biodome 2 failed because they didn't have wind inside. So these trees and these species that were supposed to grow tall as trees, they weren't growing tall, and they couldn't figure out why. And at the end of the day, they figured out that there's no wind, and without anything to put pressure on the bark and the trunk of the tree, it didn't grow tall. So it's that regular pressure of wind that actually helps a palm tree grow to the height, and an oak tree and these large redwood trees to actually grow. And without wind and without putting pressure and stress on the trunk, it's not going to grow. So there are a ton of different examples, notwithstanding the biggest, I think, which is called hormesis. Are you familiar with hormesis? A Googleable term, a phenomenal book. I think it's written by Jane Goldberg, Dr. Jane Goldberg in New York, the hormesis effect. And it is quite literally talking about how stress makes us stronger. And without that stress, we won't get stronger, and how we need that stress. So the hormesis effect, Dr. Jane Goldberg, is a phenomenal read.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because we live in both the most stress-free life in terms of our physical safety. We're not running from wild animals or having to forage for our food each day. And yet we take on and let so much stress into our life, like worrying about places far away that we have no ability to change anything with. So it's pretty interesting to consider what good stress is and how to have that enter our life, and what bad stress is and how to keep ourselves from succumbing to that stress that is just knocking us down and making us feel like we just live in this horrible world that nothing can be fixed in and everything's wrong. And when we have absolutely so much.
Everything can be fixed. And we are truly an abundant species. And what a phenomenal time to be alive. Yeah. I mean, just over my 47 years, I remember computers coming into the classroom, not having one at home. Yeah. I remember having a phone. I mean, look, I live with my parents. My dad was born in 49. My mom was born in 47. I'm fortunate to have known all four of my grandparents. My grandmother was born in 1920. Bless her beautiful heart. She died at 100.5 years of age a few years ago. And I was old enough in my knowledge and wherewithal to sit down and talk to them and ask them what it was like and understand their life history. My grandfather being in World War II, and knowing what it was like during the Great Depression. Like, we are living in such a wonderful time, and what an incredible time that we chose to incarnate so that we can share this moment and share this knowledge with the world. What a beautiful blessing this world is around us. And yet our nervous system is still looking for threats, and it is still conditioned to keep us alive. And it is still conditioned to interpret happenstances around us as life-threatening that actually aren't life-threatening. And the power that comes from resetting the nervous system and getting back into that parasympathetic nervous system response, and the power and the strength that it gives us to live a longer, more fulfilling life and to help others to do it. It's my life mission, and it's something that I'm grateful to have this opportunity to do and to share. Wonderful questions. And really, I'd love this to be printed and go to the web as quickly as possible, because this was an incredible conversation.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. Just as an ending point, where can people find you? We kind of talked about it. Anything that you didn't mention where we want to get in to make sure people know how to connect with you?
I am now one of the most Googleable people around. Craig Goldberg, inHarmony. You'll find we post on 5 networks twice a day: LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We're everywhere. Fortunate that we have 900 affiliates and partners that are posting about inHarmony all around the world. We're in, 15 countries or so right now, just because we're focused on the United States, but we just landed a container in Australia. So we're about to expand in the Australian market. We've got a ton of opportunity around the world that we're going to start to tackle and take care of. So yeah. And most of all, my phone number is in that black bar on the top of the screen of our website. Call me now. I'd love to talk with you. And thank you for listening. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Phenomenal questions. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to serve and touch humanity in this way.
Yeah. Thanks for being here and sharing the information that you have. I think we definitely have a need in the world today to have different modalities, different therapies that we can go to integrate so that we can find a place of greater wellness. Like we've talked about, there's no better time to live. We should definitely all be thriving and living our life to the fullest. And if that's not the case, it's good to know that there are things out there that can help us. And also, life is always going to have hard moments, so that there are things that we can use that can help fortify us for those as well. So thanks for being here, for sharing what you do. I'm sure it takes a huge amount of investment in the work that you're doing.
It does. Look, life is going to life, right? Life is lifing hard, I say. And it's part of the human experience. It's why we're here, is to experience life. And that experience comes with decisions and boundaries and all these incredible things that we get to manage our own mental health and mental well-being. That's part of the human experience. And it's why we are here. We just need to re-regulate the nervous system and come from a place of a calm and relaxed state, knowing that every day is a gift, knowing that we get to do this every single day. And that's the part to me that gets me really excited. By the way, nervousness and excited gets misinterpreted all the time. I get to do this every single day. I get to wake up and be with my daughter. I get to wake up in the middle of the night to help my daughter pee. I get to deal with and manage all of the day-to-day things that I get to do, because it's why I'm here. It's such a different way of looking at the world around you. And by the way, if you don't like something around you, you just change it. You are in full control of your own life.
Yeah. And I think just from my little experience that I've had with sound, just the ability to get out of our heads for a minute can really be huge. Same thing I think happens with horses. You get the chance to get out of your head for a minute. And it's like, oh, I can see a little bit better now. I know what steps to take to make those changes and to progress in life.
How many different things are you thinking about when you're riding a 300-pound horse? How much? I don't even know how much. 2,000 pounds, whatever.
That would be a really big horse. Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. But what's going through your head as you're galloping along with this beast between your legs? No. You're thinking about your connection to the horse. You're thinking about their next move. You're thinking about what obstructions might be in front of you. You're in the moment. You're locked in the moment. You're not thinking about what's happening overseas. You're not thinking about what's happening in your business. You are tied and connected to that animal, hyper-focused on what's exactly in front of you. And that is how we are meant to experience this life. Focused on the current moment, not focused on what will be, not focused on what was, it's so key.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking about it and for sharing it. I'm looking forward to seeing more about it and seeing more
Honored.
of these
Thank you so
therapies
much.
coming out that will help people so that, life can be a little bit better.
Appreciate you. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you for joining us and learning about horses that heal and the humans who help them. We hope you'll continue with us on this journey. We'd love for you to subscribe on your favorite platform and follow The Touch of a Mustang on any of the major social media outlets. Please share with your friends, anyone who loves horses, or anyone who might be struggling and could benefit from this message. If you have felt the healing power of horses or help them in their divinely appointed mission, please reach out. We want to hear your story. As we say goodbye, always remember that the horse is always there to help you heal.